Hi, this is Steve with Homestrung Jewelry, and we have a guest here today.
Hi, this is Shanda.
And Shanda, what are you going to be showing us how to do today?
I'm going to be making this ring.
Okay, this is a ring that we showed in our Blue Moon box as something that you could make from the materials in there. Is probably the one that got the most feedback, people wanting to know how to make it. And so I guess we're going to make it today.
Yes, we are.
All right, let's get started.
All right. So as you can tell, I got a variety of rings here. Let me take them off the mandrel. So we're going to be using the heart bead that comes with the Once in a Blue Moon box. There was also a similar heart bead in the amethyst box. But any type of coined bead would work, or a Swarovski button probably would work as well. Right here I've used a round bead that's roughly around 10 or 12 millimeters. I also have like a check glass ladybug, and you can use anything that will fit in this
within the wire cage.
Within the wire cage, yeah. And these are all hold beads, so these are not cabochons. Cabochons can be a little tricky to stabilize them, but I'm going to show you how you can make this ring without using cabochons. And tools that you're going to need, obviously you're going to need your pliers, round, chained, flat nose, as well as some cutters. And then you're going to need a ring mandrel. Any kind of ring mandrel will work. Not only will you need some kind of a top to bottom hold bead, roughly 10, 12 millimeters. So you'll need that, as well as a 3 or 4 millimeter round bead.
This one's a faceted bead. This is one of the moonstones that was also from the Blue Moon box.
Right.
You're probably going to need a ruler too if you're going to be measuring the wire, I would guess.
Yeah, you'll need a ruler, because you'll need about 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire that are roughly around 8 inches each piece. And then you'll need a 26 gauge wire that is roughly around 40 inches.
I'm assuming this is round, dead soft.
All round, all dead soft.
Okay.
All right, we're going to take the 26 gauge round wire, and we're just going to gently fold it in half. You don't want a real hard one just yet, or hard end, but you just kind of want to know where the halfway point is. And then we're going to start with one wire, and we're just going to loop it on there, and we're going to make 2 wraps. Or at least, yeah, 2. Make sure there are two wraps on there. And that's just to get it started. You want somewhere in the middle of this 20 gauge wire, and that just gets it started. And I pulled both wires to either side, and that's what it looks like on the back side. And we're going to take the other wire, and we're just going to match it up there. So I'm going to have one wire that's going to be the tail, and I'm just going to hold it off to the side, and then I'm going to take the other wire, and I'm going to hold up against it, and I'm going to make 2 wraps around it. But I'm just going to come around it, and I'm going to go in between. So I'm going to bring that wire in between the 2 wires and just bring it down till I have 2 wraps. Hopefully you can see the 2 wraps. All right, once I got the 2 wraps, then I'll bring this wire up and around. I'm going to spread the wires out a little bit, come in between, and then I'm going to pull it up to the top wire. And at the top wire, I'm going to make 1 full wrap, come in between those 2 wires, and then I'm going to do another full wrap and come in between those wires, and then I'm going to pull down. And I like to weave a little bit on the tight side, but you can see there's two sets of 2. And right now there's only 1 set of 2 at the bottom. So we're going to make a second set of 2 on the bottom. And we're just going to come in through the middle in between those 2 wires and make my second wrap. So now I've got 2 sets of 2 on the top, 2 sets of 2 on the bottom. We'll do that again. So I'm going to bring the wire up to the top, bring it in between those 2 wires, pull it up to the top, wrap around, bring it in between, wrap it around, pull it down, come in between, pull it down a little bit, complete the wrap, come in between, complete a second wrap. Now I've got 3 sets of 2 on the top wire, 3 sets of 2 on the bottom wire. And one more time, we'll go, I pull this wire pull it up, then I bring it in between the opening of these 2 wires, pull it up, finish the wrap, bring it in between, and bring it up again, bring it down, put it in between, pull it down, pull up, come in between, pull down, come up. Now I got 4 sets of 2 on the top and bottom wire. You'll keep doing that. And I've been using the mandrel as measurement, so if I want to ring 7, I will keep wrapping it around until I can come right in the middle, and I have roughly about 8 to 10 millimeters of space in between that I will not be wrapping. And I'll show you here in a minute, but I'm going to finish wrapping. So I'm going to just finish wrapping, and once I get to a certain point, I'm going to switch to the other side. So I'm just going to do about 1 inch on this side.
Now it looks like you're using the pliers to just flatten it down.
Yeah, just to kind of squeeze it a little bit closer together.
And you're also using the pliers and your fingernails to push the coils in tight.
Sometimes, yeah, I can push it in. All right, I'm going to flip it over to the other side, and we're going to start working. And
go the other direction.
Yeah, go the other direction.
It's nice doing it this way because you don't have this humongously long wire trying to do the whole thing.
Right, it gets a little unruly.
Well, it doesn't work the wire as much either.
So for the most part, what I'm doing right now is I'm using my fingernail to kind of push those wires together. So I'm using that fingernail to push it down. If at any point you made the wires kind of wide, like I did right there, you can try pushing it down with your fingers, but if it gets a little difficult, you can take chain nose pliers and come in and just squeeze that bundle of 2 closer together. You know, or if they get kind of a bit unruly, you can always do that. And if your wire gets bent, like it did right here, once I get them together, I can use those pliers again to kind of help make things a little bit straighter once I get to a certain point. And if you're not used to doing weaving, it can be, your hands can get a little tired, and that's okay. You just go ahead and take some breaks. So I'm going to try to get that a little bit closer together. So I'm just kind of gently squeezing. Don't go too hard. But it's just kind of a simple little basket weave stitch, or weave, or I don't know what they call it.
It's just wrapping wires around each other.
Yeah.
I call it weaving.
It's a weave. It's just a real simple weave. And if you know other weaves, you can make it a little bit more elaborate. All right, I'm going to check the measurement. I'm going to shoot for a size 7 ring. And it looks like I got to do a little bit more weaving on both sides. So I'll do a little bit more weaving. Sorry about that. Ugh, too far.
Just explain it.
All right, so I went a little bit too much, so I'm gonna too far. So I'm gonna undo some of my weaves. And so at the same time as I'm undoing, I'm kind of straightening it out a little bit. Just be careful because each time you do this, it does work hard in the wire, but it can get to a point of work hardening where it becomes brittle. And that's what you want to be careful of. You don't want it to get brittle. I'm going to check again. All right. So you can see where my weaves are. I got roughly about 8 to 10 millimeters between this weave, end of this weave, and the end of that weave. All right, so we got a little bit of space, and I got roughly on a 7. So let me explain something before we move on to set you up. So you want your last 2 wraps to be on this bottom wire, and the last 2 wraps on the other side, you want it to be on the opposite wire. All right. So my last 2 wraps are on the top wire here. My last 2 wraps are on the bottom wire. Hopefully you can see that. That will help to set your design off to the right start. All right, and then you're going to go measure it on the size, the ring mandrel that you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate. I got the right side wire coming this way, left side wire going that way, right side coming in between, left side wire going down. So they're kind of like folding like that, if that makes sense.
Just your big wires, you're overlapping them.
Right, and don't worry about the little wires. We'll take care of that in a minute. So you kind of want to overlap them a little bit. And then you're going to take the top wire and you're going to gently curve it. You're going to take your other top wire and create a curve that is away from the center. And you'll do the same thing on the bottom wire. And just curl them downwards. I'm going to take them off the mandrel bit and I'm going to kind of shape them a little bit better. And if you need a little bit of help, you can always use your round nose pliers to come in and try to shape.
Just help with the curve a little bit.
Yeah, help with the curve a little bit. So nothing wrong with using your pliers. Just make sure you don't put wire tools on them.
Tool marks.
Or tool marks, yeah, wire tools.
Yeah, yeah. You're using the chain nose to just take the little bends out.
Right. If there's an extra sharp bend, then I take the chain nose to kind of
just
softly,
carefully,
yes,
gently,
and you kind of want
pinch that sucker out of there. Yes.
Not gently,
Oh,
gently. Yeah,
that.
gently. All right, and you kind of want this type of a shape, so these wires come connected together. A little bit more even than what I've got it. But it will even out here in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to take my one wire and I'm just going to do a simple wrap up until about where the wires start to join, about right there.
This is definitely a project where I'd probably start with copper.
Practice
a little bit. It's softer.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot softer than the plated wire, sterling silver, brass, German silver.
Especially German silver.
Yeah, German silver is really tough to work with.
I make that mistake using too stiff of a wire.
Okay. All right, once I get to where those wires are meeting, then I'm going to go back or go in between, and so I'm in between the wires, and then I'm going to start combining them. So I'm going to make 2 wraps.
So you're wrapping around both wires now?
Nope, I just come up and I'm just going to wrap around 2 wraps around.
2 wrapped around the
that wire.
The upper wire.
Upper wire. We're going to continue with the same weave.
Cool.
So nothing different. So they all kind of match a little bit. Bring up in between those 2 wires and then 2 wraps around. And then we're going to do one more time on this side. 2 more wraps. So I got two sets of 2 and then just 1 set on this side. And that's all you really need for right now. And I'm just going to come in with my chain nose and just try to flatten and even things out a little bit. All right, and I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. So we're going to coil around this 1 wire until we get to where they meet.
Probably try to make it the same size as the other one.
You want to as close. You want them symmetrical.
Well, you know me. I'd probably be counting, but but you can just measure it or eyeball it.
You can eyeball it, count it. You can take a Sharpie and mark it where you want it. Sharpies are really nice to work with. They come off easily with fingernail polish remover. After I'm done with this, I'm going to put a darkening patina on it, so it kind of just gets absorbed into that darkening patina, so I don't worry about the marks.
Oh, okay.
And my dad criticized how dirty my wire is because I'm not too worried about it because I will be putting that darkening patina on it. So all that dirty little spots you see on my wire will be hidden. All right. So I've gone up to where they meet. So I'm going to bring it up and around the top bare wire. Go in between the 2 wires and come up again. So I got 2 wraps on this side. Come down to the bottom wire, make 2 more wraps, and then go back up to the top and make 2 more wraps. All right.
So you got 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top?
Yeah, so 2 on the bottom, 1 on the... Sorry, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom.
Just 1 at the bottom, okay.
So same thing as the other side. And I'm just straightening out my wires a little bit.
Well, I just guess I wasn't paying attention on the other side.
All right. So as you can see, I got 2 over here, 1 over here, 2 on this side, 1 over there. This side is coiled, this side's bare, coiled, bare. And that's where you want to be at. And then this wire right here, we're going to just thread it at the bottom and bring it up back up through the top. So you can see there's that wire that comes just right across right there. We're going to take the round bead and we're going to thread it on the side that I have the single wire that comes up from the bottom. So we're going to thread it on this side. And I'm going to thread it down. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. And from there, I'm just going to create that little bend. Just like that. So it's...
You're pulling it back between the 2 wires?
Yeah, I'm pulling it back between the 2 wires.
Cool.
And just bringing it through. So one more time from around the bottom. So now I have 2 wires on the bottom right there. So instead of 1, there's now 2 on this side. None on that side.
2 wires or 2 wraps? Or
2 wires. Do you see it? All right, next thing, we're just going to wrap around that bead and create a wrapped bezel. And I'm just going to wrap about 3 times. Then I'm going to take the one that I haven't wrapped yet, and now we're going to thread the bead on. And start with the top of the bead and thread it down. And then this wire that has the moon bead attached to it, we're going to thread it through that opening. So I got 2 wires going across. So hopefully I can show you.
So you're threading both wires through the stone, one
Yeah.
through the top, and the one that comes from the little bead goes through
the bottom. Yeah.
And then you pull it back up.
Yeah, and then you can just...
That's 26 gauge wire.
Yeah.
There should be plenty of room.
So it should fit. And you want to make sure you don't ruin your little bezel while you do this.
Yeah, I always strive to not ruin my bezel.
All right, and you can pull this wire a little bit tighter because there's nothing you need to worry too much, except you don't want to break it. And this one you want to be gentle because you don't want to ruin that bezel. And you're going to take this wire and bring it in between these 2 wires and right to the bottom. And what you're going to do is that this bare side right here, you're going to coil this bare side.
Being careful not to kink the wire.
Yeah, don't kink the wire. Oops, sorry. Yeah.
This is going to go a little slower.
Yeah, a little bit
doing
slower.
The initial wrap. But so just take your time.
And the wire, and you will feel, because we've been working with this wire quite a bit, you will. This is when you'll start to feel it really stiffen up.
Yeah, that's natural.
Yeah,
just accept it.
Right. Just don't overdo it because we don't want to get it to the brittle stage.
Well, like I said, you just try to keep the loop straight.
Yeah. So you'll keep a decent loop, and then just gently.
And keep your wraps together. Again, this is just a practice thing. You practice it, you'll get better, you'll get faster.
And if you don't like the little gap right there, you can always slide it up with your chain nose. All right, so I'm coming down to the very last wrap, and I'm going to trim till I have just a little bit of a towel, and I'm going to tuck it in between, the best I can, just in between the two 20 gauge wires. So I got a little bit of a nub right there. I'm going to grab the chain nose, and I'm just going to very carefully manipulate that in between. And how you know you've succeeded, rub your finger. If you don't feel anything poking up at you, it's in between those two wires.
Oh, no blood, it worked.
Yes, you don't want to cause yourself to bleed. All right, so we'll come back to this. And I'm going to bring this wire, and I'm going to bring it down in between the space between the bead and the wires, and bringing it down to the back side, and we're going to wrap around this bare part, just like what we did up here.
Oh, just repeat?
Just repeat. All right, so same thing. I'm going to finish up wrapping, and I'm going to just trim a little bit of a nub. So you can probably see that little nub, and we're going to try to get it in between these two 20 gauge wires. And I'm going to do that with the 20 gauge wire, and I think I got to trim a little bit more. Made the nub too big.
Yeah, I hate big nubs.
Yeah. All right, and nothing pokey. All right, so now we've got the shank done. And now and pretty much the ring is done. The beads are on pretty stable. They're not going anywhere. The next part is the decoration. For cabochons, these decorations are what helps keep the bead in place. So it requires a very tight square wire, a lot of precision. We don't have to be precise here. It's why I picked this design. So we're going to start with the short. So you got your two end that's a little bit up the wire, a little bit more up the wire, and then you got this side that's a little bit down the wire, just because of the nature of the weave. We're going to start with the shorter one, and we're just going to bring it down, and using the bead and just gently curve it down across the corner of the bead. I'm just going to bring that down. Then I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and we're just going to go a little bit above where that bead is. Actually, I think I might make that a little bit tighter. There we go. So we're going to go a little bit above it, and we're just going to bring that up and around. And across the bead. And we're just going to leave that there for the moment, and we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to look on the back side and look for where my, two sets of twos, which one's down a little bit lower, and we're going to start with that. So it's this one right here, and we're just going to come and bring it across. Because of the shape of the heart, you probably won't be touching much bead on the shape of the heart. And then grab the top part with your chain nose plier and bring it up and over. And you might go across the bead a little bit with this top wire and bring that down and across. From here, you've got a couple of choices to make. With this one right here, you can see I just came across and then just hooked it underneath the wire. You can do that, or you can take this and you take one of the wires, wrap it around, and create a little loop. So on one side, I'm going to show you this, and then I'll show on the other side, I'll show you this. So you got two options. So on this side, I'm going to take the shorter or the outside wire, and I'm going to thread it in between in through the shank, and very gently I'm going to wrap it around just once and just bring it up to the top.
So around the shank.
So around the shank and bring it up to the top. If you need to, you can do your chain nose to kind of help anchor that a little bit more. And then at the top of that bead, I'm going to start to make a loop with it. If you want to, you can use your round nose pliers to help create that loop. Or if you're comfortable enough, you can just use your fingers. Then I'm going to take my pliers and just trim, and don't make my cutters. Yes, my cutters, and don't make fun of my cutters.
Oh my gosh, did you bring those back?
I did. I can't find my other ones. And they still work.
Well,
they look terrible, but they still work.
As long as you cut it in the places where you haven't chopped it up.
All right, and then I just push down again to help kind of secure that bead, because you don't, or secure the loop, because you don't want it sticking up. And then I'll take the other wire and I'll pull it across a little bit. Well, before I do that, I want to make sure I've got the space I want on the top.
Make sure it looks the way you want.
Right. All right. All right. Then you come across to the bottom, and you're going to trim until about 1/8 of an inch past the bottom ring shank. So that's about 1/8 of an inch where I trimmed from right here to the tip. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I'm just going to take my chain nose and I'm going to start to bend, gently start to bend it around that, the ring shank, or this part.
Yeah, the wire that comes out of the shank.
Yeah, the wire that comes out of the shank. We're just going to gently wrap it around.
So you're just tucking it?
And you're just tucking it.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
I hope so. And you can kind of see the end of it, but it's underneath the bead, and so it shouldn't snag or grab onto anything. If you are concerned about it, you can take your trimmers or cutters and just gently trim that little nub off, and it shouldn't catch onto anything. And if you want to, you can take wide nose and try to create more space on the decorations. All right.
One side's done.
One side's done. All right, and then this side I'm not going to do the loop. I'm just going to do
Fold, trim, or tuck and trim.
Yeah, tuck and trim. So I'm going to start with the outside wire. So you got two. So I'm giving you two options on how to finish this off. So I'm just going to bring it out a little bit. Going to trim down to about 1/8 of an inch. Take the chain nose and very carefully tuck that wire in. And also one of the things you want to see is you don't want to see a lot of movement, or really no movement.
I don't see any.
Yeah, you don't want to see any movement. So, and that's how you know you did it right, is when you can take this wire and there's like no movement. And I've had some, and this one's not a good example, but you can see how I can wiggle that really easily. I did not tuck this very well. I was in a hurry, but you can see how I can move that around. That's not good, so don't do that. So I'm moving this around, and you can tell there's hardly any movement. That's when you know you did it well. All right, and then you repeat that again on the other side. Or sorry, not on
the inside wire.
Yeah, then you repeat again with the inside wire. And make sure you got kind of what you want to look like. And then thread it through. That's about where I want to tuck it, maybe. Okay. Give yourself about 1/8 of an inch to wrap it underneath the wire.
Yeah, don't go much shorter than, I mean, you can always trim it shorter, but you can't add to it.
Right. You can always trim more. Like I did on this side where I made it too long, you can always trim it a little bit. So, and if you're just not sure, just experiment. And if you're working in copper wire, just play with it, experiment, find what you can do. If it doesn't work out, oh well, just, you know, there's recycling places that will take your copper wire. So that's what I do with a lot of my scraps. I just recycle it.
I just give them to my grandkids.
Yeah.
They don't care. Well, they do now because they're smarter.
Yeah. Okay. Still not secured. Okay. Yeah, that's better.
It's not moving much.
Not much. All right.
I just do little adjustments.
Yeah, and you can make little adjustments
until it's perfect, or you're tired of playing with it. Sometimes I'll set it aside and come back and do the finishing up.
And yeah, I'm using my chain nose
Well, it's
to make
actually
curves and stuff, but
flat nose there.
or yeah, flat nose, wide nose.
Chain nose would work.
But yeah, you can use chain nose. You can even use your round nose. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay, let's pull it up next to the camera. Let's see
All
what
right.
it looks like.
And that's the finished product.
Let's see the other one, the original.
Yeah.
You got a mirror image.
Well, sort of. Except this one I think is better wrapped. All right. I think we're done. I think I'm happy with it. Let's find out how successful I got in size 7. Not too successful. It's about a 7.5.
That's okay. You just eat more.
Just eat more.
You can gain. It's easier to gain than it is to lose. And you got other fingers. All right. Well, we appreciate all of you watching today. If you enjoyed this, please push the like button and go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see future videos as well. And if when you subscribe, you hit the bell, you'll be instantly notified when we come out with a new tutorial or a new box or something. That's a lot of ring. I've seen arm parties. I don't think I've seen finger parties before. Yeah, you'd be mean in a fight. So anyway, we really appreciate you being here today, and be sure you stick around at the end and we'll show you a few more examples of the ring here and some of Shanda's wire work. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.